I've been dealing with like anxiety and stuff for a while. And the other day it almost got the best of me. Like I was in the most panicked state I've been in a while. And part of that, so I started to think about it on a deeper level. Like, why is this happening? And why do I have to deal with all this stuff? Why do I have to deal with being a human like this? Why do I have to deal with always being on edge? And I thought, like, so there's this concept where before you come into Earth as a human being, that you set up the type of life you want to live. You set up the parameters. You make agreements with other conscious beings, with other consciousness. So you say, okay, so you're going to be my father, you're going to be my mother, you're going to be the woman that does this in my life, you're going to be, the business partner that did this, and you're going to, you set up all the characters, right? And and you do that so you can explore aspects of your consciousness. And then you enter in the contract, which is just entering into the experience that you decided. And now you are a human being, and you have to deal with all the things, and you have to go through the experience that you created. And so I started thinking about this. And it's like, if I really did that, would I create this type of life? Wouldn't I just create like a life where like I was rich, famous, like, all those types of pleasures, where I have like, in my case, I would think like I would be I would have grown up in royalty, and I would have lived in like in an empire where I was going to rule. I was going to being set up to rule, and like my whole life was just luxury, shopping, going out, eating the best foods, and always, effortlessly being in shape and having all these exotic things in my life. I thought like, that would be the life I would probably design for myself. Not this life where I'm always dealing with anxiety. I'm always dealing with depression stuff, and like my emotions going up and down, dealing with expectations and dealing with people who are not so nice, dealing with having all these issues to deal with, especially like health issues, and like, always having to worry about money, not having any say, not having any power, all that kind of stuff, right? So like, why would I choose this life? Then I started thinking about it. It's like, okay, if I chose the first life I ever built, would probably have everything you could ever imagine. I'd be rich, I'd be famous, I'd be the most like handsome person in the world. I would build a life like that, where it's just like, and then maybe the second life, I'm like, that was like one where I was, in this era. Maybe that life I was like an emperor in Egypt or something. Maybe the next life I choose to be someone great, someone who's even greater. Maybe I choose like, instead of having a life of luxury, like of richness and stuff like that, of material richness, I decide to be, someone who's of spiritual richness. Right? I choose to be this person who is worshipped almost. The next life, I decide that I want to explore another aspect of my life. Maybe I choose something that is, like a life where I'm just like alone in the mountains and hunting and living out in the woods, Then another life where I'm living out in the sea. Maybe I live a life where I'm like this high-powered lawyer in Japan, and then every night I'm like going out and drinking and partying and like doing the whole Japanese power businessman life. And then one life, like I go through all those types of lives, right? Like where they're all pleasure and it's all fun and everything's great. And then I start getting bored of those types of lives. After like a million of those, of creating lives like those, like millions of those lives, I'm like, all right, I'm not getting fulfilled. Like there's something missing. So I decide that I'm going to explore the more tragic side of life, the more sad life, more depressing life. So I'd go that route. A million into those, I've now like traumatized myself in so many ways. I'm carrying all the trauma to balance out all the pleasure. So I have all the painful lives, and I have all of the pleasure lives. Now I'm like in the concept, like creating your own life. If that was the case, I would assume that since life is infinite and the universe is ever expanding, that these lives that I'm building are all also infinite. So I've gone through and I've created all of the worst lives and all the best lives. Now I start to say, like, there has to be something deeper. There has to be something a lot deeper than this. Let's dive into something even bigger than the things that I've been looking at. And the things that I've been looking at are the unknown. Diving deep into the unknown, figuring out. And the only way to do that is to trust that everything's, is to trust in the universe and say, like, okay, universe, build me an experience that I'm totally out of control with. So you decide to build an experience and you just do a trust fall and you go down into, whatever this life the universe has decided to put you in. And you don't know where it's going, you don't know what it's going to do, but you know that it was built for you by the universe itself. The universe has taken reign, and now you're in this new world. You don't know where to go, you don't know what is around the corner, you don't know what to expect, because all the lives before you have designed and you've built yourself. So now the universe is telling you, like, you've got to dig yourself out of this situation now. Like, you don't have, all the tools that you had before. And this is by choice. Like, we chose to do all this. So then we're working at it. And then, like, we go through this life, and it was exciting because we figured it out. We went through all that pain and we're like, okay, I know what to do now. And we figure, you figure out like how to get yourself out of the situation. And you go back. And maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to add this to this. I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make sure that I, have money or have family or support or whatever. Right? Like, you decide that, you don't want to just hand it all to the universe. So then you go through a million lives like that where you're just sort of halfway doing things, and then you go through another million lives where you are completely relying on the universe. That is where I think we are. Like, most of us. I don't think everyone has this experience, but like, I think in thinking about that concept, and if that concept is something that you could accept as a possibility of reality, then what do you do? Right? You just have to figure it out. But like, the whole time, the choice has always been yours. The choice has always been you. It's just, if you're sitting around in infinite space and you have infinite possibilities, what do you do? Like, what's the point? that's where I'm at right now in my life. I just think, like, what is the point if I have all these infinite things that I could do, but all of them bore me? Then what is the point? And that's what makes me anxious. And that's when I start to think about, different things. And I always throw myself into these rabbit holes because I love thinking about these types of concepts. But at the end of the day, you just have to trust the universe. You have to trust that the universe has your back. And you have to trust in yourself. You have to trust that, like, the experience that you've decided to have for yourself in this experience is one that is for you, for your own growth. And that is something that I am working on, because there are traumas that I haven't dealt with. I know that. There are traumas in my life from my past that I haven't really sat down and dealt with. And that's why I find comfort in things that aren't good for me. I don't do any kind of crazy drugs or anything like that. Like, not at all. Like, I don't do anything. Like, my brothers and sisters, a lot of them got caught in that kind of life, and I saw what it did to them, and there's no way I could do that. But there are other things that I do, and they're not healthy either. Working too hard, like stressing over things. I definitely drink sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times, but like that is also something that I'm dealing with. And I understand why I do that. I understand why that is something that is in my life. And the reason why is because I find comfort in it, comfort that I'm not finding in other aspects of my life. And that's like something that stems from my childhood. So when I think about those things, it helps me make, decisions that are good for my own self-care. I think earlier in my life, when I was like in my 20s, I was really like going crazy with like going to the bar all the time with my friends and my coworkers, and like just going crazy. Like, we would go at the end of the day, we would go to the bar and have a drink, and then we'd go home, or like on the weekends we'd go out and like go crazy. But I can't do that anymore, and I'm feeling it in my body. Like, my body physically can't take that anymore, and I'm working on getting comfortable with just having fun, because it's hard when you go out and your friends are like, let's go grab a drink, and you go, or I like, in my case, I have clients and I'm like, let's go, they're always telling me like, let's go have dinner, and then we have dinner and they order wine for the table, and I'm just like, nowadays I'm definitely saying, like before I was just like, I'll just have one, right? I'll just have one or two drinks. But even that is, if I could just cut that out, like not take, any of that stuff, or not drink, then it would be my life would be a lot better, a lot more enriching, and I'd remember a lot of stuff. Plus I'm getting, older, and I shouldn't even be doing that stuff anyway. But those are sort of things that I've been thinking about, and it's like, so if I've spent all these lives doing all these things, then what is the point? Like, what is the point of everything? Why am I doing all this? Like, why am I struggling? Like, why even live, to be honest? Like, that's what I started to get. That's when I, had to stop myself and had to like meditate and get back into myself. And the reason why those kinds of thoughts come into my brain is because I'm not dealing with traumas and stuff like that. And some of them aren't even traumas from this life. Some of them are the traumas from other lives that I've lived, and that, in the case of that concept, in the case of like, if you try to think about it from a real place, and like from what we know in this reality, in this experience, is that it all comes from childhood. So then I start thinking like, okay, what in my childhood, did I not find comforting to where I need some outside influence in order for me to feel comforted and at peace? So when I thought about that, I just thought like, I think I know what it is. It's like I don't want to go into too much details, but growing up, I was left alone at one point. Not abandoned, but I was, I was left at like one of my family members' house, or under their care, because my parents couldn't take care of me for a little while because they just had my little brother and it was too stressful for them. They also didn't have a lot of money. So staying at my uncle's house, I saw, their kids were treated differently. I was, sort of just put aside, and like I just felt like I was a burden. So I always thought like, I never want to feel like someone else owes me something. I always want to feel like I'm the one who's taking care of myself. And I thought about that, and that is where the comforting part comes in. It's like, I need to resolve, and I need to forgive, and I need to like find love in all of that. And that is the universal lesson for me, is like finding love. Because once I find love, I find comfort, peace, confidence. I find power. And it's not like a cheesy kind of thing. It's like if you think about it, in order for us to survive, right? In order for us to survive, we need to have certain things in our life, and we need to be able to overcome situations, and we need to be able to think critically and like understand that the world is playing by zero rules. Everyone has free will for the most part. And the whole reason for this experience is free will. Like, we're all free to do whatever we want. We're all free to choose whatever type of life we want to choose. But when you return to that place where you're going to have to choose your next experience, you're going to be carrying a lot of stuff with you. And that's what I think this whole experience is. I'm talking about the entirety of the infinite, is this sort of like these sort of waves that you go through until you balance out. And really, everyone is the same wave. All of us are the same infinite. But we're all exploring ourselves in terms of like the universe. That's why I really love that quote. I forget the whole quote, but I just remember the one part that's important, is that we're all the universe experiencing itself. And if that's the case, then I could easily see that concept being a real thing, where we've had millions and millions of lives, and we're here to experience something we've built. But some of us have built our experience, and some of us are allowing ourselves to just trust in the universe. And I think that that's my experience, is that I'm choosing to trust the experience, trust the universe. I probably chose a few things in my life, like I want to be this type of person, or I want to do this, but I'm leaving the rest up to the universe, because I trust that the universe is going to have my back, is going to fully support me as I explore who I am, as we explore who we are collectively as the universe, every single thing. And I do believe that there are millions and millions of galaxies that have millions and millions of different types of lives, not just human life. I believe that there are so many experiences, so many choices to explore, that is the ever expanding universe, multiverse. But it all starts, I have to dial it back down to where I'm at right now. And where I'm at right now is that I'm living this experience, and it's time for me to make a choice. It's time for me to choose to finally find that comfort, to seek it out instead of just hiding from it. Part of hiding from it was me going and working so hard to find this place of success in my career. And I thought maybe if I'm just successful, then I'll be worthy. Maybe then I'll be worthy of love and comfort. Maybe if I just go to the gym and work out and be crazy, like built, get swole. Maybe if I do that, then I could have a girlfriend. Then I could have a wife. Then maybe if, the thing is like, if you live like that, once you find that girlfriend, once you like find that situation, then you give up. You don't even do anything. Like those guys who go to the gym just to find a girlfriend, most of them stop going to the gym after they get a girlfriend. Then they get into a place again where the girl doesn't like them because that wasn't the person who she was attracted to, and this guy's big and all that again. And like he stops doing it because he's not doing that for himself. He's doing that for something else, for some sort of material gain. And that's the same with all kinds of things. With me, it was work. I would work so hard so that I could say, like, without a shadow of a doubt, I am worthy of support and love and all that kind of stuff because I'm successful. Like no one could take that away from me. Right? But I wasn't doing that for myself. I was doing that because I was doing it to get somebody else's, no matter who it was, I was doing that to get somebody else's approval. Now I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, I've reached this place where I can see everything a lot more clearly now. I'm in a place where I love the type of work and my job and like having my own business. I can buy things that I want. I've dated a lot, I've dated a lot of women and I've gone all that route. But everything is still missing. Like there's still stuff missing. It still feels empty. There's still something not there. And I know what it is now. It's that comfort. And I broke up with so many girls because I didn't find that comfort in them. And that's what I was looking for, is like that trust and that's not what they're there for. That's not, that's not fair. That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody, is to try and find comfort in somebody else. You need to have comfort in your own self. You need to heal your own traumas. You need to deal with your own shadows. And the shadows you've been under. That to me is like the reason for most of our experience, is to heal ourselves and to get to a place, at least for me, that's in my experience, that's probably going to be the main reason for my life, for this experience, for this human life experience. For me, I'm pretty sure that is my lesson, is learning and experiencing that comfort, that true comfort, and that true love. And it's, I think about my family members that sort of, that never really had a chance to really for me to like share this with them, but they've decided that, they made their own decisions in their life. Maybe they're on a different lesson. Maybe they learned what they needed to learn. That's why they're gone. I don't know. That they're not a part of my experience. They were for a short amount of time, but they made their choices. And I've learned that I'm not in charge of anybody's happiness or anybody learning a lesson. Like, they're in charge of their own lessons. So I just think about, what can I do today? What can I do today to move towards this or to move towards that? That's what I think about in the morning now when I go on my walks with my dog. We walk in the desert and every morning I take him out into out to nature, and we do our little walk, and then I take him to the dog park. So we do our thing, and it's a beautiful thing to just get out and like get into nature and like get into like, and to understand like where you are, and to really feel the earth and to really feel everything. Because even though there's all this stuff that we have to deal with, all this like the trauma and stuff that I'm working on, even though there's all that there, you still have to experience the actual experience of life. Because you're only going to be conscious of this life in the way that you're conscious of it right now in this life. When you go to the next life, who knows? You might not have the senses that you have right now. In the next life, you might be blind. You might be deaf. You might not be able to taste anything. You might not have a sense of smell. You might not be able to feel anything. Maybe you come back as a different creature because you decided you wanted an experience as a lion or as a bird. Or as a duck. So those are the kinds of things that I've been thinking about recently, and I'm on it. I'm working on it. I'm working on that whole situation. And I think a lot of people are too. I know there are a lot of people out there who are becoming much more conscious about the way that they live their lives, because social media is really, exposing a lot of people's behavior. And even though like I see Karen videos, I've been a Karen a few times, like a male Karen or whatever. I forget what they call them. But I've been frustrated a few times, especially the pharmacist. The pharmacist is one of the most, like, one that I go to is one of the most annoying, because, and it's not even the pharmacists themselves, it's the people, like the place where I live, the city where I live, people are so entitled, and I get so frustrated, like waiting for, the pharmacist to handle these people. And a few times I've gotten mad at the pharmacist because, recently it was because the pharmacist was new to this pharmacy, and I've been going there for so long, for like a decade, and they were not able to handle my situation quickly. They took so long, and I just got so like frustrated because I had to go somewhere. I was also panicking because of the situation, and I'm just like, and I finally, I figured it out. It took me a long time. It took me like 4 hours to figure it out. But it was so frustrating to me. I just couldn't deal with it. And, I didn't go crazy on them, but like, I lost my temper for a little bit, and I was, a little angry, but obviously I keep my composure for the most part. But it's just, those are things that we're all dealing with, and these are all situations that we all that we all go through. And social media, you know, when you look at a Karen video, you're like, I just never want to be that person. It's just ugly. And part of the reason why you think those videos are ugly or why they frustrate you is because you recognize those things in yourself, and you're like, ugh, this person is being, you know, terrible. This person's being terrible. So why would I, you know, I never want to be like that. I never want to be caught like that. So then they're fun to look at and fun to mock. But at the end of the day, we're all in this. We're all the same universe. And I don't really have a conclusion for this video, because I've covered a lot of crazy stuff. Because like some of those concepts, like the concept of being able to create your own life, to me is still a stretch. But I can see it, and that's how I can, you know, in its own way, like I can see that as a way for me to help understand the universe in my own way. It sounds like there's somebody at my door. So I hope you guys have a good day and a good night, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.